If it costs you that much and you don't really have to file and you don't understand the tax law, you may be missing out on some credits. In Mercer County last year, we didn't bring it all in, but $55 million came into the county. $55 million from the earned income tax credit. That's a lot of money.
That's huge.
Our coalition, and that's what partly we are, United Way is steering this coalition called R.E.A.C.H, creating savings, creating assets, savings, and hope. I lost it there. And it's several nonprofits as well as our partners who are funding us. So we have banks that are funding us, the IRS is funding us, and then some foundations as well, so that we can help these families get the earned income tax credit. Next year, a family, two parents and three kids, could probably, if they make between $16,000 and $18,000, they'll be eligible for over $11,000. So imagine what that does to somebody's household that they'll make that small amount of money. And so they're entitled to it. They've worked. It's an earned credit, and we want to make sure that they get it.
Now, earlier you were talking about how many people or how many tax returns were prepared last year.
Right.
Can you talk about that a bit as well?
Sure. So through our volunteers, we had 63 volunteers last year, and they helped us complete just about 2,500 returns. This year's goal is 3,000 returns, and I'm hoping to get it closer to 90 volunteers again. I need them to be able to complete a return. It takes about an hour to do a return, and then all of our returns are reviewed by someone else. 100% review. It's a requirement of the IRS. So not only does the person who's helping you fill it out, then we have the reviewer, and then each site has a site coordinator. So in reality, it's 3 people who actually look at the return, and then it's filed electronically.
Now, when you said that you're looking at having 90 volunteers for this year, how are you going about getting those volunteers? Who can volunteer, and who would you like to see come out?
We have a variety of volunteers. We have people that are retired. I just left Princeton University at Woodrow Wilson, and we started training at 4:30 this afternoon. And we have graduate students that are training to be tax preparers. College of New Jersey tax law students have 100 of them have taken the test. Not 100 will volunteer. I would love 100 of them to volunteer, but it's an opportunity for college students to have experience doing taxing, and particularly if they're going into the accounting field, they can now go on an interview and talk to somebody about the fact that they actually worked with a client. So I'm hoping about 20 that I'll get from College of New Jersey. And then I have people that are retired that have come to us, and then I have people who work. And so the number of sites that we're open 6 days a week, from 9 o'clock in the morning till about 8 o'clock at night. We do taxes on Saturdays, we do them on the evening. So there's a whole variety of time periods that we can ask a volunteer to give us a little bit of time. We ask them to give us in 4-hour blocks, basically, because it takes that hour to do the return. And the more returns a volunteer does, the better they feel about it and more comfortable, and the faster they get at it.
And you did a fantastic job saying some of the people who are already interested, grad students, college students, retirees, et cetera. What about that person who's on the cusp and says, hey, I kind of think I may be interested in doing this. I have some free time. What would you like to say to them?
Well, I'd love them to give me a call, and we can talk about what they'd like. I actually have several people who are between jobs. They're looking for jobs, but they want to do something in the community. And in fact, one woman came to us last year, and then she recruited 3 more people that are training this year. I'm like, yes, I'm going to hire you as a recruiter. But it gives them experience. They get a chance to meet other people in the community, because we do go to different locations and stuff, and give us a chance. And you don't have to know a lot about taxes. It's something we teach you. What you need to do is want to help people. And people are extremely grateful for you taking the time to help them finish these tax returns.
Now, most importantly, the folks who are coming in to get their taxes done, what would you like to say to them? Because I know at this time of the year they're bombarded with all the television media and different commercials, and there's signs put up in most retail places, pop-up locations, etc. What would you like to say to those folks who are kind of in between Do I go to one of the pop-up shops or one of the advertisements on television, or do I come to the United Way of Greater Mercer County?
Well, here's a good story. So a lady walked into one of our sites last year, and she said, I have my brother do my taxes, but I wanted to see whether you could do it better for us. And so she gave us her information. We did her tax return. Well, her brother didn't know about the earned income tax credit. So she ended up with getting almost $4,000 back. Plus, you can file back 3 years. So we said, do you have your information for the last 3 years? You know, is it similar? She said, yes. She came back with all her documentation. We filed back, and she ended up with $16,000. She was able to buy a car and not have to use the bus to go to school and pick up her kids. So one, it's nice to go to somebody that knows what they're doing, and it can't hurt you to come and check it out with us. You know?
Fantastic.
So that's my best story. I think that was the best save we've ever had. But it's important to people to be careful who they go to. And I have to warn people, there's a law that came into effect last December, but now goes in effect this year. And there's two parts to it. The employer has to file, as we get our W-2s, where they're required to give them to you at the end of January. They now are required to give it to the IRS because there's been a lot of fraud going on. Mm-hmm. So they're going to match those kinds of return forms. And then the other thing is they're delaying the processing of the EITC returns and child tax returns. So most families and friends will come at right away to get it because they want their money right away for a lot of reasons, because they're getting a lot back. They still can come and will file, but the IRS won't process until the February 15th. So it's going to be towards the later part of February that they'll be able to get their returns. And I say this as a warning. We don't know what professional paid purveyors are going to do. They may offer loans that you'll have to pay high interest rates on. You're just going to have to be patient and come to a site and understand it's going to take a little long to process. It'll take longer wherever you go. It's just the IRS new law. Congress put it in effect.
Fantastic. So we've got a couple of seconds left here.
Yeah.
Contact information, and then I want you to come back when the season kicks off, and we'll do this again.
All right. Well, that'd be great. So it's Terry Truitt. They can call 609-896-1912, and they can ask for me or leave me a message. Or they can get me at Terry, Tarry, .Truitt, Truitt, at uwgmc.org.
Fantastic. Terry Truitt, Director of Community Impact Programs at the United Way of Greater Mercer County. She will be back talking about taxes and tax season, which is right around the corner. Terry, as always, lovely to see you.
Thank you.
I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, and
You
we'll
too.
be in touch about your return.
All right, great. Thank you.
Folks, you're listening and watching the Trenton 365 show. I'll be back after a short break.
Adopt U.S. Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
You accidentally cut your daughter's bangs unevenly. Do you A, line things up a centimeter from her hairline?
Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man.
No. Sweatbands are so hot right now. Everyone's wearing them. Like that basketball player and that other basketball player.
B, get spiritual.
Mom, where did all the mirrors go?
A reflection could never capture our true selves.
Huh?
Beauty is within.
C, look on the bright side.
Less time blow drying, more time texting.
Or D, show empathy.
Mom, you really don't have
Ta-da! Twinsies.
I kinda love it. As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org/AZ. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals, too. Call right now. 800-648-9175. 800-648-9175. 800-648-9175. That's 800-648-9175.
Okay, Sarah, I'm dropping you at Emily's, and Josh, you're going to soccer, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, and by the way, when I pick you up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What?
No!
Yep, me and my short shorts doing my daddy dance. Your friends will love it.
No!
Well, I might change my mind if you buckle your seatbelts.
Okay, we're buckling up.
See, all buckled.
Whatever it takes, keep them safe. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Hello, friend, and welcome to the Trenton 365 Show. I'm your host, Jacque Howard. You can follow us on Twitter at Trenton365 and the website, Trenton365.com, and on Facebook, Trenton365 Show. So, Patriots Week is the annual event that takes place in Trenton, New Jersey. Happens between Christmas and New Year's. One of my favorite times of the year, besides the holiday season, but we also do this awesome reenactment of the Battle of Trenton, and that's what we're going to be talking about with the next guest that I have here. And also, Ruth Markoe is back in, who was here a couple of weeks ago, who was talking about the Roebling play, and now she's going to be talking about this play, The Trial of Abraham Hunt, which is going to be taking place during Patriots Week. Ruth, welcome back to the program. Ladies first, and then Larry will have you introduce yourself as well. Okay. So Ruth, brief introduction, and let's talk about what you're doing in partnership with Patriots Week.
Great, excellent. Well, once again, my name is Ruth Markoe, and I have a theater company called Theater to Go, and just recently we completed a very successful run of Roebling, the Story of the Brooklyn Bridge, which I hope a lot of people saw. And now our next adventure is, as part of Patriots Week, we're doing a staged reading of a new play entitled The Trial of Abraham Hunt, An American Christmas Story by Michael Davis. And we decided that this would be really a perfect play to do because it talks about an episode that happened the night of the crossing right here in Trenton that maybe raised a few eyebrows at the time. And so we're doing it as a staged reading at the 1867 Sanctuary in Ewing in collaboration with them. That's a new performing arts space that just opened recently in Ewing. It's really lovely. It's at the site of the Ewing Presbyterian Church that was going to be demolished, and they restored it to a lovely performance space. So it's sort of a collaborative effort between Theater to Go and Trenton Patriots Week and the 1867 Sanctuary. And we're very fortunate that in addition to the playwright and the actors performing this play, we're also going to have my friend over here, Larry Kidder, who's going to be there as a historian to shed some more information about the event that we discuss in the play, as well as other events that happened that night with the audience. So
Awesome.
It's going to be a pretty exciting evening.
Okay, and before we transition over to Larry and have him introduce yourself, share the contact information for Theater to Go.
Okay, Theater to Go can be found on the web at theatertogo.com. That's TheaterTogo.com. On Facebook, it's Theater to Go NJ. And I guess that's it.
Okay.
And they can call me up at my house anytime they want.
Awesome. So Larry Kidder, welcome to the Trenton 365 Show. It was a pleasure to meet you a little while ago in our green room. So why don't you introduce yourself and talk a bit about the programming?
Okay. Well, I'm Larry Kidder, and I have been a teacher for most of my life, and I'm now retired and still trying to help people understand a little bit about the history of the local area. I'm not originally from New Jersey. I don't have family ties to New Jersey, but I have literally fallen in love with the history of New Jersey and do a lot with it in the local area. I do some work at Howell Living History Farm as an interpreter there, and I also have gotten very interested in the Revolution in Mercer County area and have written about that, researched about it, and do a lot of speaking about it to different groups.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm glad that you mentioned that because, number one, Mercer County is one of the wealthiest counties in the nation, number one. New Jersey is the most densely populated and culturally diverse state in the nation as well. So those two things, I believe, are great opportunities for us to expand upon the history.
Mm-hmm.
And events like Patriots Week, to me, are perfect for that, especially because they take place in a post-industrial city like Trenton that has a very diverse population, predominantly people of color, and very large population of Latino Hispanics from multiple countries. And this is an opportunity for us to really say, hey, look, let's wave this sign and this placard and say, hey, look, this is what took place here, and look what's happening now. And this is an opportunity for us to grow together as a community.
Right. And Trenton, even back at the time of the Revolution, was a very diverse population. New Jersey, in general, was one of the most diverse colonies and one of the diverse early states. In many ways, it kind of presaged, what the United States would become later on. So it's very appropriate. Exactly.
And I'm interested to hear more about the books that you've written. Why don't you touch on that a bit?
Well, I've written several books on agricultural history in Hopewell Township. That's associated with Howell Farm in the Pleasant Valley area there. And then I've also written on the 1st Hunterdon Militia Regiment during the American Revolution. And the 1st Hunterdon Regiment drew men from what is now Hopewell Township, Lawrence Township, Ewing Township, and Trenton. Trenton north of the Assunpink Creek, anyway. Audience may not know, but Trenton was a split city, or a split geographic area at the time of the Revolution. North of the Assunpink Creek was Hunterdon County, south was Burlington County. So, it was kind of a split personality there. But the militia regiment that I looked at was very active during the whole Revolution, not just the time when the main events were happening here at Trenton. And from that, I've now written a book about Trenton during the Revolution, the 10 years of Revolution, 1774 to 1783, and that will be released in the spring. But again, the history of Trenton, the history of Mercer County, the history of New Jersey in general is just something that, as a history teacher, somebody who's loved history their whole life, I just feel that it's something that everybody needs to know about. It's pivotal. What happened here in Trenton at the time of the crossing and the Battle of Trenton, the two battles of Trenton, the first and second Trenton, leading up to Princeton, I just can't express the importance of that month of December, and particularly the 10 crucial days at the end of the month that Patriots Week is all about. So for anybody in New Jersey to come to Trenton and experience that and get to know what the heart of the state was like, and how the people of Trenton dealt with all of the issues that came about because of the British and Hessian occupation during that month, and then the battles that were fought here, I think it goes beyond just a kind of a cliche view of the Revolution, but it gets down to looking at what happened to individual people. And that's where the play comes in, looking at one of the citizens of Trenton, Abraham Hunt, who was a very well-to-do merchant in town, and was also the lieutenant colonel, that's the second in command of the local militia regiment. And he had also been very involved in the Patriot activities, protesting the taxes of Parliament, the various acts of Parliament. He was well known for his patriotic views. And when the Hessians came, or the British and the Hessians came in early December of 1776, he was kind of a marked man. He was a man who probably should have tried to avoid contact with the British and the Hessians, if he wanted to preserve his neck, but strangely enough, he stayed in town. And I don't want to give away the play, but that decision led to a series of events that got him into a position where history and his fellow people at the time even might question just what his motivations were, just what his real beliefs were. And it's something that historians still debate.
The play is it's a one-act play, and we're doing it only as a reading, but it actually is in the format of a trial, that they question whether or not his actions of that evening with Hessian Colonel was an indication of his patriotism, or was he actually a traitor, or was he a spy? And these are the questions that are actually brought up in this imaginary trial that happened, that we're presenting in the show. So our hope is that it will generate a little bit more interest in the story of the events of that night, not only the crossing, but things that led up to the crossing. And hopefully the play will get people interested in learning more, and Larry will get people interested in learning more, and we'll realize that there's more to what happened here than just the crossing and the success at the barracks. And it's just the more people know about history, the better it is, and we're doing our little part.
So Ruth, I'm glad that you interjected there. I'd like for you to talk a bit about the arts and how the arts can be a platform as a learning tool for people who may consider, it's ancient history, it's old time, it's not really that interesting to me, etc. Talk about how the arts and the performing arts specifically can partner and bridge the gap between history and modern times.
I'm really happy to do that, both from the point of view of the audience and also the performer. Let me just say that from the point of view of a performer, I have quite a bit of education, and yet I think I've learned more from my experiences in theater than anything else, because every time I go into a part, every time I direct a play, I learn about what that was all about, and I learn about the people and things that like this, for example. I really didn't know very much about Revolutionary War history other than what most people know, and with my association now with all the people involved in this, I'm learning a whole lot more. And as far as the audience is concerned, it sometimes just reading books can be a little dry if you're not in the habit of doing that, but when you see live people speaking in their voices and perhaps in costume or with a set around them, it just engages a lot more. And the best example of that is Hamilton, that's going on in New York right now. I mean, it is like huge. Hamilton is a huge thing, and kids who probably didn't care too much about that period of history before are singing the songs and telling the stories. This is the value and the power of theater, specifically theater. So I think it goes both ways. It goes for the actors, learning. Some of the most educated people I know are actors, even if they don't have formal education, as much formal education. And then, of course, the audience, that comes away. The same thing happened with our Roebling story. People came away enthralled to learn about a story that happened right here in Trenton. And they had things to share and talk about and exchange ideas. And I'm not sure they would have done that just by reading a book.
Very interesting. And you may have stole some of my thunder here regarding bringing up Alexander Hamilton, and we'll get into that shortly. But as I was wanting to learn more about the history of Trenton and the Battle of Trenton and pre the Battle of Trenton and so forth, I found myself going through this process of thinking, growing up in the 70s and 80s, I was thinking, okay, you go to war, you're thinking of invasion. And that is completely not what the situation was here. I mean, when you look at the stories and you read the history, like even this, Trenton merchant and newly avowed British loyalist Abraham Hunt is hosting a Christmas party for the occupying Hessian enemy. George Washington is closing in on his attack on Trenton. Our mindset, or at least my mindset, was, okay, you're thinking war, you're thinking invading countries, you're going to a foreign land to fight this battle, etc. That's not how it was then. You had the Hessians and you had the not technically Americans, but you had the British here. There was a whole bunch of diversity here.
it was basically a civil war.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it was civil war in two different ways. It was a civil war because the colonies were breaking away from Great Britain, or trying to break away from Great Britain. And also within each colony, like New Jersey, there was a split opinion as to whether that was going to work or not. So you not only had military forces in the Independence War, but you also had military forces, New Jerseyans fighting New Jerseyans.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's also trying to keep their life going at the same time and live from one day to another and plan for the future and hope for their kids, you know, to have a better life later on and that sort of thing. And how do I deal with armies that are technically my country's army, but I don't get along with them right now, and they aren't getting along with me right now? And how do we deal with that? And from day to day, the situation might be so different that I think differently from day to day.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we know how the revolution came out. They didn't. For them, it was current events.
Mm-hmm.
For them, it was making decisions that they did not understand where it was going to lead to. And in many ways, they only had a vague idea of what they were fighting for beyond the concept of independence, the concept of freedom from control by Great Britain and having, you know, control over our own lives through our own government. But what that government was going to look like, how it was going to affect them, they didn't know that. That was the mists of the future.
Mm-hmm.
To us, looking back, everything seems obvious.
Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that itself could be a book or a speaking opportunity for people to think about trying to be in a setting where you have a developing nation.
Mm-hmm.
You've got brother sometimes fighting brother and cousins fighting each other. You've got two different nations all at the same time where you're trying to live day-to-day life.
And that's true of us today.
Absolutely.
Yes, exactly.
Our country is always changing. The world is always changing, just like it was changing for people during the Revolution. And just like the decisions we make today, who are we going to vote for? What are we going to propose as a new law or a change to a law? We don't really know what the outcome of those changes are going to be. We don't know which is the right one until we make a decision and see how it plays out. And that's how the people were back then. So I think we have a real connection to the people of the Revolution.
But the constant, of course, the constant is that we're all people trying to get by day to day, doing the best for our families and our children, put food on the table. That's universal and that's historical.
Right.
That's the prime factor for all of us.
And that's one of the focal points of this program, is for us to build a better community together, because we can build a better community if we come together. Just before we switch out and we get Richard to come in, who's so patiently sitting over on the side, before we get Richard to come on, I'd like for you both to share something to the folks who may not know about Patriots Week or are kind of like, oh, well, that may not really be for me. What would you like to say to them?
Well, I love Patriots Week. I love coming into Trenton and getting seeing the battles and the soldiers in the uniforms and those guns and all of that blasting, and then really feeling the importance of where I'm standing. You know, when I'm standing on Warren Street, you know, something significant happened over there. And I also am not from this area, so for me, even though I've been here for a long time, it's still always refreshing to come in and, you know, see what's going on at the museum. And the old Barracks is amazing. My kids all went to the old Barracks camp, which I've never known about before. So I think it's an amazing experience, and everybody should come out to it. And of course, Richard will tell us more.
Awesome. And Larry?
And I think there are just so many opportunities during Patriots Week for people to look at Trenton in a way they don't look at it every day. I mean, Trenton has changed a lot since the time of the Revolution, but some of the things have stayed the same. Basic street pattern is the same, you know, right in the center there. And the programs associated with Patriots Week, the various tours, the lectures, the programs at the barracks, the reenactments, all of those things. As you follow the soldiers on the reenactment, you can start getting an idea. You start getting a vision in your mind of just what Trenton was like during the Revolution. You kind of move away the modern stuff and look at it how it was then.
Mm-hmm. And I also want to give a shout out to the actors and portrayers because they're committed to this. And I remember one year I was documenting it with Scott Miller of Exit 7A, and there was a man, I believe, a couple of young men who were from, I want to say, middle Pennsylvania, and they had come and they decided that they were going to be in full bore. They walked barefoot. They were eating just leftover rations that they had found. I think they had a ham bone or something. And they were so in character, talking about, hey, we were coming through Bucks County and we happened to hook up with a farmer who said we could have some scraps and this is what we had. And the whole idea of it literally put me in that time frame. And it helped me to realize, hey, this is what actually took place.
Jacque, that's theater.
Yes, indeed.
That's theater.
Indeed.
That's the same kind of theater that we do.
Yep.
It's theater.
So before we break and get Richard in, Larry, share some contact information, how people can find out about you and your authorship, and Ruth as well.
Well, if you want to find out about my books, you can Google me or you can go on Amazon.com and just put my name in, Larry Kidder, and it'll come up with the different books and everything. I love talking with people about their research or their questions about history. In my books, I give my email address so people can contact me.
Fantastic.
And people can find him at Howell Farm
And you can
just
always
about every weekend.
you can always find me at Howell Farm on a Saturday for their programs there.
Awesome.
Find me in the horse barn.
Great. And Ruth?
And again, once again, it's theatertogo.com or Theater to Go NJ on Facebook. If people are interested in coming to this show, they can go to Brown Paper Tickets and put The Trial of Abraham Hunt, and they can buy their tickets there or come buy tickets at the door. We hope to see everybody there. We'll serve cookies and coffee after the show.
Awesome. And we'll be back after a very short break, and we'll be bringing in Richard. And we'll be talking about some other things dealing with the battles of Trenton, American Revolution, and Patriots Week. We'll be back after a short break.